Hair Day at Frida's. Elisa shook her oft-foiled golden tonsorial splendor one last time that sunny Guadalajara morning and headed out to her SUV ML 500 Mercedes, also gold. She strutted a tigress even when she swept the front of their Provincia home. Always heels, often gold snakeskin, her favorites in a massive collection. She did this while her maid, Sophia, worked her 74-year-old nails to the bone inside Elisa's castle. Elisa only ever swept the front. She did this to ensure the neighbors would see that she was both proprietor and groundskeeper. Every detail of her life to the T, an agenda of folly. It needed to be like that for Senora Elisa Osegura Vasquez. That day she was to meet 3 of her allies, the only 3 who understood Elisa's need to be 5 steps ahead of the game. It was hairstyling day, Thursday. She had 6 hours until Juan returned from the day's events. She would prepare a pollo con mole rojo, classic Mexican chicken breasts, baked in a red chili chocolate sauce, for him, later make love with him, allowing him manly free rein in the hopes this coming Saturday might be Diamond Bracelet Day. She entered Frida's, her hairstylist's, in a haughty cape of respirated grandeur. There it was, her makeshift homeland, her breathing room. This day was mother's milk in the life of Elisa. She scanned Nayeli, Naomi, and Lupita. Las diosas, the goddesses. Las tenidas de secretos, the keepers of secrets. A rain of enthused kisses and sisterly exchanges of "Buenos dias, mija," followed. Elisa felt herself take a deep breath and pseudo-relax into Frida's familiar chair. She would be first as the others sipped their espressos. She was always first. It was implied. Nayeli moved away from the others to chat with her, but Elisa felt herself slipping. She'd been up for too many hours, been worried for too many days. God, Elisa needed rest. She couldn't fight it, following into a dreamy oblivion, into Frida's Preciosa fingertips. This was Zapopan, in the treed, traffic-calmed Hummer haven of northwest Guadalajara. There was free license to be loosened of her life's many secret picardías, dirty tricks, for just a moment. Sanctuary. She was culpable, yet she would be beautiful at all times, come hell or high water. Elisa's infinite vial of beauty made her life make some kind of sense, physically validating the superficial edifice she and Juan had erected as their daily camouflage. She heard Naomi going into a recitative about how good a little auburn would be in Elisa's mane, then onto a schoolyard issue that had arisen between their 2 sons, Chava and Octavio. Elisa tried so hard to stay awake enough to respond to Naomi's imperatives, also implied. It was to no avail. Octavio was feeling the obvious strain of the position of his 9-year-old life and had been throwing dirt at Chava resultantly. Her mind began to move to random places. She felt herself dozing. Did I ask Sophia to take extra special care to water each plant, shine the leaves of the banana tree with a chamois? Elisa was circling the drain. Grapes. I like grapes. Should Octavio get a puppy? She would sleep through her streaks. Naomi continued on. If she had no audience with Elisa, the others would surely want to know about the boy's antics. Elisa awoke sometime later to her head being gently caressed into hair-drying blowout position 1. 3 other Providencia women had entered the salon and were having a serious discussion about properties for sale outside Manzanillo, it being the best time to buy. Bleary-eyed and still somewhat dozy, it was hard to make out what they were saying. Elisa began to come back into being slowly. Sticky mouth, she thought, need another coffee and a lime water. It was implied, as Frida returned with both, aligning Elisa's sleepy, fresh-tinted head for product finishing. Elisa knew, as clear as day, she could have any man she wanted. She was a true stunner, powerful, gorgeous, smart. Juan was her pick. He called her serpente because she undulated gracefully as she moved. Elisa could slither out of any situation. Anyone near her had best wield a large stick for protection, as Elisa was prone to hissing and taking venomous bites at random turns. She came back to life in Frida's stylish chair once her head was elevated back to its usually alert position. Elisa was a bright woman, and like so many, She was drawn to drama, like a moth to a flame. She had to balance this irrational part of her life with a heightened sense of awareness at all times. It was par for the course. As she felt herself revitalizing somewhat from the hair surface, her ears pricked up. She could hear a gaggle of women gossiping loudly and discussing Manzanillo real estate. For a moment, Elisa was struck by the empathic sentiments spilled forth from each, in a circular manner, loud tones. Elisa had come to unwind just for a precious moment. These others were wrecking it for her. She became annoyed. The serpent was rising. They are causing Mexican soil to be pockmarked with blood. The rios are contaminated with death and violence. Our children are not safe. They get all the best reservations in town while we have to wait in line. And what do the other nations think of this proud land now? What kind of reputation does this narco-traficante impress upon the rest of the world? That we are merely purveyors of white powder? We have to live in fear. Surely these crooks will overthrow the Policia Mexicano. Yes, Nayeli, what about the true spirit of our Mexico? Indeed, Pancho Villa would surely roll in his grave. We have lost our heritage to this villain. And there it was. An instant of exhaustion, fear, frustration, and blind rage catapulted Elisa. She went from her neo-meditative dream world to Serpente as fast as a line could be snorted. Up she shot, out of Frida's caring manos. In 3 strong strides across the floor, Elisa made her target. She pulled the revolver out of her purse and aimed it at the stylist who was getting ready to color the Pancho Villa's fan's mane. Shave her head right now, or I will shoot you, she bellowed. No one moved. A silence seeped through the salon, like a serpentine fog curling through the early morning streets of Guadalajara after the rains. Shave her head, Punta Madre! You heard me! Elisa barked in her Spanish, rolling the R on the last part of madre for dramatic effect. The younger stylist, in fact Frida's niece, Juanita, shifted her feet slightly, thinking this might somehow change the state of the nation. Juanita remained frozen. Elisa had the revolver cocked in her right hand, with her elbow bent, arm unrelenting. Without moving her arm, she pivoted her body, an expert master, the symphony conductor. She then aimed the shooter at the woman responsible for alluding to Pancho as separate from today's Mexican mega-industry of drug trafficking. In fact, Mexican history and a major lack of resources had brought on the desperate state. She looked at the woman. Her eyes narrowed. She swung one hip in a dominating stance of brazen power. You have no idea what you are talking about. You have no idea what narcos live. You have no concept of what it is to love a man through it all. No fucking idea. And to the young Juanita, Elisa steadied herself. You will shave her fucking head right now, or yours too will be blown off. Elisa said this as if she were placing an order at 88, one of Guadalajara's finest eateries. Calm, focused, serious, an appetite for more. And so Juanita complied. Tress by tress, the mermaid's muse, long, thick ebony locks fell to the floor as the gun held, as the hip unturned, as the gaze fixed. Juanita tried to stay on task. Her hand shook once at the very end of the shave when she contemplated who would care for her children if she died here. Juanita ruptured a snippet of skin accidentally as she lost her way in the thought. The woman looked at her face in the mirror, no longer as radiant without her crowning glory. The woman could see her own indignant horror as it creased her forehead. As if, in slow motion, the woman looked down, a sickening, torrid shame creeping into her proud Mexican soul. A tiny drop of blood fell to the floor, next to the pile of hair. Elisa turned on her heel. As she pushed the door open with her left elbow, she turned to her audience. Keep your mouths shut, or you will find yourself cursing the rajas con crema, dark green, milder chilies cooked with caramelized white onions and cream, burning on your earthly stove from heaven above. She didn't bother to pay for the service.